Welcome to Season 8 of Radio Free 501c, brought to you by Rogue Tulips Consulting. Don't forget to subscribe or follow us. We're in Season 8 and we still have a lot to talk about. Radio Free 501c is supported by USAE News, the weekly community newspaper of Association CVBs and hotels. Learn more at usaenews.com. Hey there, we're wrapping up June with a first-time guest. It's Roger Atkins. He's president at the National Tooling and Machining Association. He's going to drop some wisdom about building corporate partner programs. You don't want to miss this one. It's June 29th, 2026. Welcome to episode 333. Hey everybody, welcome to this week's edition of Radio Free 501c. Thanks for taking some of your valuable time to join us for this really interesting topic. We're all talking about it a lot in the association segment of nonprofit management, so I think you'll get a lot out of it. Our topic is building corporate partner programs. If you do anything with associations, you are aware of this area, even if you don't work directly in it. And we have a great guest this week who's going to share his insights into how he built his program. But before we do that, a little housekeeping. I hope you're having a great day here on planet Earth, wherever you may be. And thanks again for joining us. If you haven't yet followed or subscribed to Radio Free 501c, please take a moment and do that. We're on all your favorite services, and we have so many great conversations. You don't want to miss them. I'm your host, Cecilia Sepp. I am the principal and founder of Rogue Tulips Consulting, and my company brings you this podcast every week, along with our podcast partner, USAE News, the what I like to call paper of record for the association management industry. Check out their website, usaenews.com, and find a subscription that fits your budget. They bring you all the important news about what's going on across associations and across CVBs, so check them out. But this week, I'm really pleased I have a first-time guest that I just met earlier this year, Roger Atkins, and he's here to talk with us about his sponsor program. But Roger, before we do that, welcome to the show. Would you like to say hello to the audience and tell us a little about yourself?
Perfect, Celia. Thank you so much for the invite, and it's a thrill to be with you. Again, my name is Roger Atkins. I'm the president of the National Tooling and Machining Association. We're an association of over 1,000 small to medium precision manufacturing companies across the nation. And I'm a little unique leader of our association. I was a member for 40 years of the association. And so they asked me if I would run the association. So I am not an association guy running an association. I'm a member running an association. So I have people on my staff that keep me within the rails of the association world. But I think I bring a unique member perspective to running the association. So that sort of makes me a little unique in the association world.
Well, and that's one of the intriguing things about your experience, Roger, and that's why I wanted you here on the podcast, because it's not often that a member can walk into that role and do such a great job like you have. You definitely have a love for what you do and for the members and for the organization, and that really comes across in everything. Now, just kind of a funny aside for the audience, we met when I was invited to speak at your chapter leadership conference earlier this year, and I was offered two topics, artificial intelligence or sponsorship programs. And at that point, I was like, a lot of people are doing AI. Let me talk about sponsorship. And I came in and I used that shorthand that gold, silver, bronze is too restrictive. And a lot of people are trying to move away from that. And yet only to find, as I was exploring your group, you do platinum, gold, silver, and bronze, and it's very successful. So can you tell us how you organized your platinum, gold, silver, bronze program and what you think makes it unique and so successful?
Yes, Cecilia, when I got here to NTMA, we were selling sponsorships by hook or crook. Any way we could sell a sponsorship, we would do it. And we would and so we found ourselves just given a wide array of things and piecemealing them together, and then we piecemealed them throughout the year. And so people who really were partnered with us and wanted to partner with us, we really were messing them up because they have a budget for the year and that they put aside for these kind of sponsorships and programs with associations like us. And they're no different than anybody. They want a plan, and coming to them 5 times a year and give them this wide array of grocery items that they could pick was really a disruption to them. And we would beg and steal and plead, and we could finally get something out of them, but it wasn't. I realized we could get so much more if we just worked and planned with them, if we appreciated the positions they're in. That a person, we're not the only association, even though we're selfishly the only one we care about, but there's different people coming to them for that kind of, for that budget. And so
Hmm.
the better we can help them plan. And so we congregated all of our stuff together, and I said, listen, we're going to go to our partners 1 time a year. And
Hmm.
we're going to do it while they're budgeting, not after they've budgeted the amount. And so we put together a media kit. And to me, that's really one of the proudest things I think we have accomplished in my time here. Is we put together really a great media kit of giving them different levels of service based on their budget, based on their desire to be wanted to be connected with us. And so we sort of went the gold, silver, bronze type levels. And but we tell them everything they're going to get. So again, it makes it easy for them to say, I want that. And so then we manage the whole thing instead of going to them multiple times in the year. And then, they're working on 10 other things and we want to come in there and we're the most important thing to us at the moment, but we're about number 10 on their list of things to do. So we tried to narrow the scope and go to them with a very distinct program and say, at this level, this is everything you get from us. And we give you a few choices in there. So if you pick these choices, we give them about 3 or 4 things, primarily around our conferences. If you want, how much involved in the conference you want to be. But otherwise, we tell them this is what you're going to get, and it's our responsibility to manage that for you. And we want you to be upfront and personal with our members 12 months a year, not just 2 or 3 times a year. And so that's what we sort of put together. And they started appreciating it. Like at least they know that I can give you this much money, I can sponsor this much, and I'm going to get this. No questions asked. We ask them these 2 or 3 questions. What do you like more, this or this? And then, but it helped them plan and it helps us plan too. So now our year's planned, and sometimes they come to us in the year and want a little more. They would like to do a little more. That's great. Or we go to them and maybe give them another choice in the year. But it's not like we're piecemealing them. And I just didn't like the piecemeal approach.
Right.
As a business person, I don't like to be piecemealed. As a personal person, I don't like to be piecemealed. I don't like to be upsold on everything. So I just, I'm a bottom line kind of guy, and I just tried to give them the bottom line of what we could do to create a partnership and promote them.
See, and that's the important word right there, Roger, that you just used, which is partnership. Because it doesn't really matter what you call your sponsorship levels or the offerings that you have, as long as there's a partnership. And so working with the people in that way and only going to them that 1 time a year, I'm like you, just tell me, how much is it? It's like that movie in the classic, that movie classic Tin Men and their car
Right.
salesman. And,
Right.
Richard Dreyfuss is like, just tell me how much the car is. And the other
Right.
salesman says, well, how much are you willing to pay? And he's like, $1. I'll give you $1. Right. Just tell me.
Right. Right.
So I think a lot of us appreciate that really upfront, transparent approach. Now, who is the person who is the main relationship manager in your sponsorship partnerships? Is that you, or do you have another staff person that
Oh
does?
yeah, our marketing manager is responsible for that relationship, and
Mhm.
so he and his staff of one they manage our partners, and like I always say, if it is a partnership, and our goal is to promote our partners. And we pick partners. We try to get best in class partners, and we try to get partners that can solve solutions for our members.
Mhm.
Um, Often, my staff, when I have an opportunity to talk to somebody about a partnership with NTMA, my staff gets on me because said, Roger, do you realize you just spent the last 30 minutes trying to talk them out of being a partner with us?
Yeah.
And I said, I want them to know who we are. I want a partner to be very clear on the kind of organization we are, the size of our members, how they adopt partnerships. We're a
Mhm.
slow adopter association, so our members are slow adopters. So if a person wants an ROI on year one, I tell them flat out, we're not your organization. If you have to go back and prove an ROI, but I will tell you, once our members accept you, they're your partner for life.
Mhm.
And so it is a long game with NTMA. And I tell people, I said, but if you're not in the long game, we're not your association. If you,
Right.
and so like I'd say, we're a nonprofit. We live hand to mouth every year. We need every dollar we can get. But the reality is, I don't want somebody's money today that's not going to give it to me next year.
Mhm.
And I always tell people when I bring a partner on, the first person's integrity I'm putting on the line is mine. That I'm telling our members that this is a good partner for our association. So if they don't like that partner, they first look to me and say, "You gave us a bad partner," and then they talk about the partner. So they talk about me first. So I'm very sensitive about bringing the best partners that we can that will be a year over year partner because I'd love their money this year, but I don't want the conversation that Roger, you disappointed me. Your organization disappointed me because you didn't bring the value that you promised. So I do not want that phone call. I don't want their money. As bad as I need their money, want their money, and would love their money, I don't want it if I can't perform. And I don't want that phone call next year. I don't want money this year, not next year. So if we can't get it, I would just soon them never give me the money because you know what? If they give it to me this year, guess what I'm going to do next year? I'm budgeting for that money
Mhm.
in my budget, and then I'm going to get the phone call to say we're not going to renew because you didn't perform.
Well, and I think that's a really important point you just made. You need to make sure it's the right fit and you need to make sure they're happy as well and they're getting what they need out of the relationship. And I think a lot of associations take the opposite view. Let's get the money and let's not worry about if they're getting value out of it. A lot of associations take that approach, unfortunately. And so that's why people like Bruce Rosenthal go out there and talk about corporate partner programs as opposed to sponsorship programs, because building the partnership like you have done is really what brings that long-term value. And you then can build that into the budget. And also, I think another great approach is start small and let them
Right,
grow into a sponsorship and you offer all those options.
right,
So as coming in though to this role, you walked right into the chief staff executive role, as we call it. So you walked
correct.
right into the top job from the membership. So what were some of the lessons you learned along the way, not just with dealing with your sponsorship program, but just what were some things that surprised you?
Well, Cecilia, honestly, I was pretty intimately involved in NTMA. I've been a part of NTMA my entire career. I've actually knew of our association since I was 10 years old, believe it or not, because I was a second generation. My parents were members of this association. So I was pretty had an intimate knowledge of the workings of NTMA, but I really didn't understand how associations work. I never worked for a nonprofit. I've always been a for-profit guy. And
Mhm.
one of my staff at the time told me, he said, Roger, remember, we're a nonprofit. And I said, well, let me tell you, we're a for-profit company until we can pay all of our bills. Then we can become nonprofit. Because at times, sometimes in the nonprofit world, the idea you don't make any money or break even is okay. And I just no, we have a responsibility to pay our bills without expecting somebody to come bail us out at the end of the year. So that was sort of some of the focus I brought to the association. Um, and understanding people to understand we have a responsibility here. We have a fiscal responsibility to our members. We have a fiscal responsibility to our partners. And that was really try the focus I did. NTMA, like many associations, we try to be a little everything to everyone. So you get to be a mile wide and an inch deep. I said, let's be a half mile wide and 10 foot deep. Let's bring in and that we can do a better job at servicing our members and our partners and really build something of true strength and just instead of just a thin layer on top.
Mhm. And this is why we need people like you to come into association management because you bring that perspective and you see the obvious. This is actually very obvious to me, even though I've been in the profession my whole career. This is obvious to me. Focus, give value, give the best you can give. You don't have to be all things to all people. And bringing that attitude in seems really fresh, even though it just makes a lot of sense, right?
Mhm.
So I really like that. How did you convince your staff to change their mindset?
I've got a sledgehammer and no, they just you just sort of grow into that kind of mindset. And then, once I told them, I took the pressure off of having to perform.
Mhm.
Sometimes you get in this performance mode and I have to get this much sponsorship and I have to do this and I have to do that. And under those kind of pressures, it makes you do things that maybe aren't in the best interest of yourself or the partners, but you have something you have to accomplish. I said, let's not worry about it. Let's make sure we bring value. Value will bring the numbers we want to hit.
Mhm.
And we'll work a lot, we won't work near as hard and it'll be a lot funner because our partners, we have year over year partners. I mean, we have long-term, years-long partnerships. And when you can create that, then our focus becomes how do we bring greater value to them? And then how do they bring greater value to our members? And so, they actually adopted it when I took the pressure off of them to having to perform. They were just in this proverbial rat, the little hamster wheel going around. And I said, we work way too hard to work like that.
Mhm.
We should have fun in what we're doing. If you're not having fun, you need to figure out a way to have fun in what you're doing. And
Mhm.
and bringing value makes it fun because now somebody's appreciating you instead of dreading your phone calls 4 or 5 times a year to create a partnership or to get monies for an event or for to sponsor something. Now it's like we really do have a partnership and they're calling us now. Hey, we'd like to do a little more at that conference. We'd like to add a little this and a little that. And so it
Mhm.
makes for a lot, it just makes for a lot better relationship.
Wow, and you said the F word that we don't say enough, and that's fun. It definitely needs to be fun for volunteers, and there's nothing wrong with having fun at work. Yes, it is work, but we should enjoy what we're doing. We
Absolutely.
shouldn't dread going to work. We shouldn't dread doing the things we need to do. So I'm with you on that. I really like that. I do a lot of volunteer management and leadership training and things like that. So that's what I always tell people, like the client I'm working with right now. I'm their contract executive administrator, and I tell them we got to bring the fun back for the volunteers. They're under a lot of pressure. Let's make it fun. Let's make it a little easier. And I like that. And that also works with a high performing sponsorship program. So when you came into this role and you started saying, we need more fun, let's take the pressure off, let's build these relationships, what was one of the things you saw right off the bat that you thought, I really want to change this?
Well, again, I just think the biggest change was the idea that we were just making these constant phone calls, and when we would have an event coming up, it's just frantic around here trying to get enough sponsorships, and it just was such a disruption to our staff that's what we were in. We were just in that mode of constant chaos, just constant franticness of doing it, and I said, this isn't effective. But the good news and the bad news was we were accomplishing our goal by that method, but it wasn't healthy. It wasn't healthy for us, and it wasn't healthy for our partner relationship. When
Mhm.
people see your name come up and they really don't want to take your call, that's not a healthy partnership.
No, it's not.
And that's what it had become. And I think they judged us off that, and I don't think we were judged highly. I don't think I think now there's a respect for what we're doing today, not a dreading of that. So those are the things that I really think were just really mistakes. And you just sort of grow into those mistakes. And we got them today. We're constantly trying to improve. But those were the things I think were the big changes is the chaos in our office is so much more calm today and I'm big on the F word. My F word is fairness. Let's be fair to people. Let's bring them a fair product. Let's bring our members something fair. Let's treat our members equally the same. let's treat our partners equal the same. Let's make it fair for all. And I'm always looking for that balance. I don't care if it's good for the association financially or not. I just want to be fair. I want to do the right thing. And if we make our North Star, I said, let's just go to the North Star and just keep your focus there, and the results will happen. And
Mhm.
without the chaos and the franticness. I mean, this place was a zoo. I mean, just was it was a frantic zoo, but it accomplished the ultimate goal. But you're just worn out and just dead tired and felt like a dog when you're finished, and then only to wake up to do it again. I'm like,
The
this
next
ain't
day.
gonna work.
Yeah, and and that's a good point. It's like, if it costs you everything to reach that goal, is it worth it? And I think that's something more leaders need to consider, and kind of streamlining what people are focusing on, like you did. Like, you came in and you describe it as chaos, and you're like, whoa, wait a minute, let's reconfigure this a little bit. So
Right.
you've grown the program, you've built these really strong relationships. So what is your next step for your sponsorship program? What would you like to do next? What would you like to see happen at NTMA's program?
Well, like any nonprofit, we're always looking for revenue streams into the organization. And, NTMA, like many organizations, we would take anything we could get.
Mhm.
I think I shared with you, any kind of trickle of stream we could get in here, we would take. Regardless of how little it was. And so we're trying to manage a bunch of just trickling streams. And I go like, I'm not looking for streams, I'm looking for rivers. Guys, if we could think if you have 30 little trickling streams that meet the goal, that's great. But you're trying to manage and bring value to 30 partners or something along that line. What if we could narrow that and get away from managing little trickles of streams to managing rivers. Now we can really invest time, energy, resources, and partnerships in enhancing these relationships. So I think we tried to narrow some if because we were putting untold resources into things that brought very little to our organization, but it brought a little dollars to the bottom line. But for what we put into it, what the problem was, we couldn't see the value, the resources we were putting in it, and comparing it to the value that we were getting out of that little trickle of revenue. And so we sort of narrowed our scope a little, and some that just didn't bring it, that we couldn't bring value. We took their money. Okay, I'm just being honest about it, but we didn't give them value. And the reality is, they may not
Right.
have brought us value. But they were willing to give us money, but they didn't bring us value, and we really weren't bringing them the value. And in fairness to them, I said, we're not being fair to you. And so
Mhm.
we've tried to narrow the streams a little, and make go from a little brook to a stream to rivers. And we got 3 or 4 rivers that we've created now. And they're a lot easier, they're a lot funner, they're much more effective to manage, because now our resources and energies go into how do we make those better? How do we really bring value to them? And they're bringing value to us. And so it's a no-brainer then. Do they want to continue with us? And do we want to? It's a no-brainer. It's
Yeah.
like now you're all focused on what can we do better, instead of are they going to sign up again this next year?
Hmm. And I do love your transparency on, yeah, we took the money anyway
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
at that one point, because when you're first coming into the role, you don't know how everything works yet. So that's
Oh,
very
absolutely.
honest, and we are trying to be transparent, more transparent in this profession. So you've talked a lot about being fair and providing value, doing the right thing. So you may recall, I have a certification in ethics and compliance, and I teach a course on that. I'm on the ASA ethics committee, so that's always top of mind for me, trying to do the right thing for the most people. So, are there any ethical considerations that you take into account when you are doing this business development, when you're adding to that funnel?
Well, it's a great question. I'm a guy who focuses on the North Star. Keep your focus on the right things. But if I don't accept members doing things that I consider unethical. I just because they're members, I would say that we do not support this kind of actions. And I would just tell you, we're lucky that we don't have hardly any of that. That comes, that rears its ugly head every 5 years, maybe once or twice. But even with partners, if their values don't align with us, I'm not trying to change your values. I'm just saying they don't align with us.
Mhm.
If your expectation doesn't align with us, that's great. Let's go our separate ways. Let's have lunch and be buddies, but we're not going to be partners. And so I just don't let the need for a partner over outweigh doing the right thing or getting the right partner. I would rather not have a partner. I'd rather not meet a goal than to bring a wrong partner in or get into something that's not going to be of value.
Yes.
And I know that's easier said than done. I also am judged by performance, but at the end of the day, I'd rather be judged for making the right decisions instead of hitting it with making bad decisions on wrong partners. And we've made a couple partner relationships that I would say it wasn't an ethical issue. They just didn't bring the value. And so we just told them that, it didn't work out. The value that we thought and you thought didn't work. And so we just go away from them. And we just say we're not going to have this partnership. It's not to be, it's just try, and I'm doing it for their sake as well, because I think you're putting money into us that we're not bringing value to you, but you're not bringing value to us. So, I'm a bottom line kind of guy. Honesty is the best policy to me, so I don't want to deceive anyone. I think deception is the worst thing I could do. Believe me, I can talk them into joining, but I can't talk them into staying if you don't bring value. And I just do not have, the older I get, the less I like that conversation, and I don't want that conversation anymore. Because the
Mhm.
worst thing you can do to me is say I disappointed you or I misled you. And
Exactly.
nobody I'm bound and determined nobody will ever tell me that. That's my goal for me personally. They won't tell me that because,
Yeah.
and that's why my staff said, you tell them everything. I want them to know who we are. They say, well, this person wants to be a partner. I said, first of all, your job is to make sure they know exactly who we are, how we act, and what our values are. And if that aligns with them, great. But if it's not, don't take them. Don't let the money make you accept somebody that doesn't align with our values.
Yeah, I agree. And I love that. That is great advice for all associations. Sometimes you have to end that relationship, even if they have been giving you money, because
Right.
it's just not the right fit. And too often we're chasing the dollars and we're not staying focused on mission. And mission is serving members, especially in your case with
Right.
serving the industry. So that's really important. So I do want to ask you another association management question,
Mhm.
though, before we move to the end of our episode. So you were a member for 40 years, you're second generation, you were actually in the industry, and then you became president of the trade association. So what's something you wish you knew before you took that job that you learned later?
Hmm. I Well, it's interesting. I've always loved our association. I've appreciated. My dad went to his grave telling me it was his intimate friends and peers that taught him how to run his business. The success he had was because he was a good manufacturing person, but he wasn't a good business person. He said, Roger, it was these my competitors, it's the people I met in Intimate that made me a better, that taught me how to run a company and grew a company rather large. That's where I learned it from. And so I had a really love and passion for NTMA. So I don't know if I learned all that much more, but what I was able to do is bring that passion of what NTMA did for my parents and try to let's be that for our members. And one thing about me at my age, everybody's younger than me, but I tell our members, I said, I probably have experienced the good, the bad, the ugly of this. I've experienced the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat in this business. There's very few things that our members are experiencing or will experience that I haven't personally experienced or have been a part of. And I think well, the good Lord put me in this position is to take what experiences I've had and try to help and people not make the same mistakes. I always tell our members, I said, you don't have to do what I tell you to do, but listen to the things I tell you not to do. If you just don't do the things I tell you not to do, you'll be a better company. There's plenty other mistakes to make in business, but I can keep you from making a lot of them. And forget you having to listen to me of what you should do. I'm going to listen to me on what you shouldn't do, and you'll be a better company as a result of that. And so I've just been able to bring that passion I love the industry and I love our association. I love the value that the association, that peer-to-peer interaction brings to members. Truly, I have members who will say it was their peers that changed their life. It was their peers that inspired them to grow or it helped them make critical decisions in their business, their business lives, maybe even personal lives or business life. But it was that peer relationships. I mean, I have people that I met 20 years ago that'll call me and say, Roger, you remember when, and I'm having that problem now. What would you do? That's the place because I have the greatest job in the world. I get to come to work every day and try to help over 1,000 companies be better. And what a better job to do is to give back to. It's a great way to end my career because I'm giving back to an industry that's given to me my entire career.
That's wonderful. And just so thrilled that you're having that experience because being able to help people at any level in an association or other types of nonprofits really does feel good, or mentoring other
Oh,
people.
absolutely.
Sounds like you do a lot of mentoring. So, well, this has been a great conversation, Roger, and thank you so much for taking time. I know you have a very busy schedule. I'm not going to say busy schedule. You have a very full schedule because you are going out, you're meeting people, you're meeting your members, you're meeting your sponsors, maybe you're speaking at conferences. So, if you had advice to give to our audience, what would that closing thought be? What would you like them to take away from your experience today? And then how can they get in touch with you if they'd like to follow up and maybe be
Sure.
mentored by you for sponsorship?
Well, I think when it comes to sponsorship, I would say that my advice is it's got to be a win-win. And that's what I always try to look at. It's got to be a win for us. It's got to be a win for them. And when you get those win-win, they work. If you get a win, maybe a win, if it's not even, it's just too hard to manage. If you can get those relationships that are win-wins, then you can all your resources go into to enhancing that relationship instead of keeping it. I'd rather enhance something than work to keep it. And so I would say always make sure it's a win-win for you. And if it's not, walk away from it. That would be my advice. And I'd be happy for anybody to reach out to me you can reach me at R Atkins, that's RATKINS at ntma.org. And I'm on LinkedIn too. You can catch me on LinkedIn. All my contact information is on LinkedIn as well as my phone number, Celia. So if I could help anybody, I'm at that point that giving back to the industry, giving back to things that people have given me. I'm giving back for the people that have given me where and put me where I'm at today and help me do that. So I'd be happy to do that.
That's great. Well, thank you so much, Roger. Thanks for joining me this week on Radio Free 501c.
Thank you.
Well, we do have to go rogue for now. This has been a great conversation, and you can find this episode featuring Roger on our website, roguetulips.com. Go to the podcast page. You can easily share this with your friends and colleagues and then talk about it. You can also check out our full podcast library. We've been having so many great conversations. It's another reason to follow us or subscribe so you don't miss any wonderful conversations like this, especially from somebody as unique as Roger, who came
Mm.
from the industry into the top job, and he is killing it. So, congratulations on that, Roger.
Thank you very much, Celia.
And also, if you'd like to learn more about what Rogue Tulips Consulting does, you can go to our services page and let's have a conversation and see if we can work together. You can also read my blog and find out what's on my mind this week. And like I always say, I don't know what the heck I'm going to talk about every week. So check that out. You can sign up for our newsletter as well and find out what's going on here at roguetulips.com. And if you're getting ready for the CAE exam this fall, or you want to get some ethics education, check out our education page. We're also offering a self-guided course called Adaptive Leadership. Check that out as well. I'm always happy to answer questions, so you can just contact me through the website or by email, which is also on the website. So thanks again for joining us this week here at Radio Free 501c. And on behalf of Roger and myself, we will see you next time. That's it for this week. I hope you really loved this episode as much as I did. Thanks for listening. Learn more about how our experience and knowledge at Rogue Tulips can give your organization the strategic edge to reach its goals. Check out our website at roguetulips.com. We'd love to talk with you and see how we can work together.